everybody. Welcome to It Was Tuesday with your host, James Chen, and of course, Nathan the Cat. Oh, Nathan the Cat. Sorry, I had to get him on the start of every episode from this week. But today, we are actually going to talk all about drive rushes in Street Fighter 6, because what's interesting is last week I did a YouTube video on on things to improve in Street Fighter 6 and how I would fix them. And one of the things I said is obviously they gotta fix the the inputs being eaten by drive rushes, because I had experienced similar things myself with inputs being eaten by drive rushes. The interesting thing was a lot of people actually started responding in the YouTube comments. They're like, drive rushes don't eat your inputs, dude. And then a lot of people started to link me to a video by Big Nasty Kale. Let me pull that video up for you guys so you guys can actually see where that is. Let's see here. YouTube.com. Big Nasty Kale drive rush. Here we go. So, I totally spelled that wrong. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I love better help there.
If you guys actually check this out, this is again on Big Nasty Kale's channel over here. Wait, I'm gonna get these ads out of the way for you guys. But if you actually look here, this is his channel name over here. So if you just actually look up Big Nasty Kale, as you can see here, let me zoom it in for you guys. There it is. BIGNASTYKAIL. And he has a video called Street Fighter 6 is not eating your inputs. And so I started watching this a little bit and listening to a lot of the stuff that he was saying over here. And then I went to Twitter and started talking about this. I was like, hey, does anybody actually have like actual emphatic proof that drive rushes are eating your inputs? Because I cannot replicate it. I went into training mode and I could not replicate the drive rushes eating any inputs. And most people's evidence was anecdotal. Oh yeah, put the link in the chat. Absolutely, Sadgeef. Please, please, please. So I started to do some experimentation. And there is, in fact, and to clear this all up, and again, shout outs to Big Nasty Kale, because he's done this already. Please watch his video for a lot more explanation here. But I'm going to show you guys here in as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to record Ken to neutral jump into drive rush like this, right? So now I have Ken neutral jump into drive rush here. Now, according to what a lot of people have said is that this eats your inputs. So there should be a timing at which if I hit a button, it will not register. And people say it happens when when you start the drive rush and the game freezes. But you can clearly see me hitting the button during the freeze because Kimberly hasn't moved before I've hit the button. But you can also see that clearly, okay, so that was a little too early. That was a little too early. Right there, clearly I'm hitting the button during the drive rush freeze and my button is still coming out. And I have sat here for like 30 minutes doing this with all sorts of different timings, much later, much earlier. And I have tried every single timing humanly imaginable. And there is no inputs being eaten whatsoever at all. And it has nothing to do with Hurtbox. Nothing to do with Hurtboxes, suggested in the chat over here. And so, yeah, so I started asking that exact same question, Investigation Code. It says maybe it's only for online play or also for in-person. There might be an element of this that it only happens online, that the freeze and the rollback or the netcode or something syncing up isn't syncing up properly. That I cannot tell you right now. But for the most part, drive rush isn't eating your input. So what's the complaint here? What is the issue here? Well, the concern here is actually that there is multiple levels to this. One, Drive Rush does eat one input, and that is jump. So if I actually hit up, let's see, that was before. There it is. You see the up there. You literally see up at the top left corner of the screen there. And sure enough, Kimberly did not jump. So up can be eaten. And so a lot of people have said they have had their jump input eaten by a Drive Rush. And that is definitely a thing. That is definitely a thing. So what happens is that the game registers certain things during the Drive Rush and will play them out after the freeze ends, but up is not one of them. Up is not one of them. So this is something that for sure 100% Capcom needs to fix. Now, I don't know if I can do it fast enough, if I can actually get the dash to not come out. But the thing is, dashes in general are bufferable, so I think the window after you input it will last long enough that it'll always get outside of the freeze window of Drive Rushes. I'd need a programmable controller or something like that. Up forward is also not going to work. As you can see, I just did up forward and it didn't work. Yeah, it'd be easier to test dash on leverless for sure, so it's hard for me to test here. But regardless, it is very clear that that is being eaten, that the up is being eaten by Drive Rush. So that is 100% something that needs to be fixed, and we need to talk to Capcom about that. Now, is there other ways that your inputs are getting eaten? Absolutely 100%, but it is not the way that you think it is. What I have discovered now is that during the Drive Rush freeze, you have the capability of inputting multiple things before the freeze ends. And so what's happening here is, since that freeze doesn't actually count as a measurement of time. So watch, I'm going to hit heavy kick. And what you'll actually see here, like if you can actually, maybe if I put this in slow motion over here, this will be a little bit easier to see. But look at the frame meter on the screen. Watch the frame meter. You see how the Drive Rush freeze literally stops the frame bar from moving. The Drive Rush meter absolutely stops the frame meter from moving. You see that? And that is because it doesn't count as actual time in the game. The freeze is literally no time at all. It doesn't exist. But there is a freeze there. And what the game is doing is it's registering inputs, except for jump, during that freeze. And what it tries to do is go, oh, I registered an input. I will play it as soon as the freeze ends, right? So during the freeze, if I hit medium kick, whoops, too early. There we go. So I hit it in the freeze and the medium kick comes out. Now, I'm going to show you another experiment. I'm going to plink medium kick into heavy kick really fast, like this. And the heavy kick came out. Interesting. I hit medium kick first, as you saw on the inputs. I clearly hit medium kick first in the inputs, but heavy kick is coming out. What does this mean? What does this mean? My initial thought was that if you input two things at the same time during the Drive Rush freeze, it just picks the second one. So in other words, my standing medium kick got eaten. Here's a worse situation. Let's say I try to do standing medium kick into run to check the Drive Rush, but I input it so fast. Whoops. And you see what happens there. I input it so fast. I've input standing medium kick, run medium kick so quickly that it all fit into the Drive Rush freeze. So now the second one came out and erased my standing medium kick. I've lost my standing medium kick completely. My input got eaten. So here is evidence of input getting eaten. So what's happening is that the game is literally recording, oh, you press standing medium kick during the freeze, but now you input a quarter circle forward medium kick during the freeze. I have to pick one of them. Which one am I going to do? I'll make her run. And so originally, like if I do that normally, that just means standing medium kick into run. No problem, right? But in that situation, my standing medium kick got eaten. You can clearly see there is a standing medium kick input here somewhere, but it got eaten. So my original thought was that they were just picking whatever comes last and doing that. That is also false, as I have learned. What they're actually doing is that this game has an input priority system. If you input multiple things at the same time, the game picks one of them to win. There is an input priority system. For example, quarter circle forward plus punch is a super. Quarter circle forward plus 2 punches is an OD. So what will quarter circle forward plus 2 punches be? Whoops. Oh God, dude, I'm using Kimberly bad. Okay, let me do it with kicks instead, because Kimberly has down, down. That throws so many things off for a loop because that thing has a big priority as well. So let me actually do quarter circle forward plus kicks for you guys instead. So 2 quarter circle forward plus kick is a super, and then quarter circle forward plus 2 kicks is actually EX run. If I do both of them at the same time, as you can actually see down here is down, down, forward, down, down, forward, and 2 kicks, the OD run comes out. Basically what this means is that I've input 2 moves at the same time. The game just picks one. They just pick one. And in Street Fighter 6's case, and I hate this, I don't know why, OD moves have a higher priority than supers. If you've ever tried to link a super in your combo, like this, you tried to link a super to some degree like this, and then you piano it. So I pianoed it there, but because at some point in time I hit 2 kicks, it's like, you know what? You actually wanted to do OD, and so it'll make you do OD run like you just saw there instead of super. This is why you never piano your supers in this game. You never piano your supers in this game. Only use one button to do your supers, because if you ever piano it, you might come out with an OD because it has a higher priority. Here's another example. If I actually do quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, and hit punch really fast, if I can do that, she teleports. So in other words, the quarter circle back, which is the teleport, takes priority over quarter circle forward. If I do quarter circle back, quarter circle forward really fast, the teleport comes out. The teleport in the input priority system has a higher priority than her elbow, than her vagabond edge. The teleport just has a higher priority in their priority tier list for every character. Every character just has a list that says which move actually has a higher priority. So when the drive rush freeze happens, it just picks the move with the higher priority. When I'm plinking medium kick to heavy kick, the medium kick gets ignored and the heavy kick comes out. But if I do the opposite and plink from medium kick to light kick, the medium kick still comes out. There is no timing in which the light kick will ever come out. In other words, because the medium kick actually has a higher priority than the light kick, if both are input during the drive rush freeze, the one with the higher input priority comes out. So what happens, and like I said, please watch Big Nasty Kale's video. A lot of the times the drive rush, the reason why it messes up our combos or messes up a lot of stuff is because it adds those few frames of delay. So in other words, if I'm sitting over here and I go strong, strong, and I go strong, 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 and I do this timing every time and I go strong, strong, the freeze is obviously going to throw off my timing. That same timing that I hit strong, strong is not going to work because the drive rush literally extends time for 9 or 10 frames, which throws off our timing. This is where most people are seeing their inputs eaten. Their inputs aren't actually being eaten. It's just that it's freezing you in the middle of recovery longer, so you hit the button too early before you actually recover out of that move so it doesn't come out. Again, please watch Big Nasty Kale's video. He has plenty of examples of that in his video over there. So, this is the situation that we have with drive rush inputs being eaten. It's 1, jump legit gets eaten, and 2, inputting 2 things during the freeze forces the game to pick one with the higher priority. The reason why it's really, really important to discuss this and to point this out is because there's no solution to this. Some people are like, Capcom better fix this. There's no way to fix this. At least I haven't thought of one yet. I haven't thought of a good way to fix this yet. Because logically speaking, there's no way to fix this. Because you are literally killing 9 frames of input from time. You're killing this from time. And so like a lot of people have offered solutions to this, but there's no real way to do it. What it's doing right now is that it registers stuff during the freeze period. It registers stuff during the freeze period, and then whatever it chooses that has the highest priority will occur instantly as soon as the freeze ends. So it basically just whatever it registers, it plays out right away. But as you can see here, there are situations where that can cause inputs to be eaten, like that stand medium kick into the run. So what are some solutions, right? So some people have said, well, just record everything that happens during the freeze and play the whole sequence out afterwards. So why am I choosing standing medium kick or run? Why don't I just take standing medium kick, run, and play that whole sequence out immediately after the freeze? And you're like, wow, that's a great idea because that was my intention. So of course I want that to happen, right? Let's say I'm trying to do a super motion. And then I actually do like, so basically in order for that to happen, right? In order for that to happen, the game literally has to play out all the inputs on those exact frames afterwards. So in other words, it has to take priority of those inputs over anything that you input at the same time. Because if it's going to play out those inputs exactly as you input it during the freeze, what happens if right after the freeze I hit more stuff or I do more motions? What is supposed to win? What is supposed to win out? So Fufufu is saying that his head is spinning and he can't follow. During the input freeze, if I input a bunch of stuff, it's literally reading my controller inputs, down, down, forward, forward, plus kick. It's just reading that. And it says, oh, you know what? That's a special move. So as soon as the freeze ends, I'm going to play that special move because I've registered it during the freeze. And again, during the freeze, nothing is actually happening in the game engine. Like nothing is advancing, right? The game is literally frozen for 9 to 10 frames. So it can't do anything. And so what it's doing right now is whatever gets input during that freeze is that freeze period is like you're giving extra time. The way I called it was like, it's kind of like a reverse leap year, basically. It's like, oh, okay, I need to catch up to this time here. There's this extra day that I need to excise from the year. So every 4 years, we're going to kill one day out of February. You know, it's kind of like that. It's like just to try to make things match. It has to kill 9 frames somehow. And so what it's choosing to do now is it treats those entire 9 frames of input as just one possible action. There's just only one possible action that can come out of those 9 to 10 frames of freeze. So whatever you input during that freeze period of time, it'll use the priority system, pick one of them, and that's what happens as soon as the freeze ends. So if I input stand medium kick, quarter circle forward medium kick within that window, instead of doing stand medium kick canceled into run, what the game is going to do is it registers a medium kick and it registers a run command. It picks one of the two. In this case, it picks run, and it makes me run afterwards. So now my standing medium kick got eaten. My standing medium kick input technically got eaten because it doesn't come out. So that's the current situation right now. What a lot of people have actually suggested then is take whatever happens in that freeze and play it out exactly after the freeze ends. So if I hit medium kick, quarter circle forward, medium kick, as soon as the freeze ends, play medium kick, quarter circle forward, medium kick. But the problem is now you are duplicating time. You have layered the time inside the freeze on top of real time now. If I play out medium kick, quarter circle forward plus medium kick, and I'm doing stuff actually after the freeze. So let's say I do medium kick, quarter circle forward, medium kick during the freeze, and then I start wiggling the joystick and mashing the buttons. What happens to those inputs that I'm pressing in real time while the freeze inputs are played out? And I'm sorry, this is getting super technical. If you're a programmer, all of this makes sense. If you're not a programmer, this is going to be so mind-boggling here. But basically, this is the problem here. From a programmatic standpoint, if you are a developer programming this into the game, if I play out medium kick, quarter circle forward, medium kick after the freeze, what happens to everything I'm inputting during that time? Well, you'll be like, okay, well, you know what? That's a necessary evil. That's a necessary evil because you input it during the freeze, and the freeze is so short, that's what you meant to do. That should take priority. That should absolutely take priority over whatever inputs you're putting in real time because you already put those inputs in during the freeze. Make sense, right? So logically speaking, you're like, that shouldn't cause any problems. You meant to do that during the freeze, and so now you're going to get that after the freeze. Simple, right? Let's say I'm trying to do a super. Let's say I'm trying to do a super. And then the guy drive rushes when I didn't expect it. And during the freeze, I hit quarter circle forward. And after the freeze ends, I hit quarter circle forward plus punch. What do you think is going to happen here? So if we play out exactly let's say we do this all as efficiently as possible. Quarter circle forward, down, down, forward, forward. It was 3 frames, and then punch was the 4th frames. Both times we input it. We input it absolutely perfect. So I input down, down, forward, forward during the freeze, down, down, forward, forward plus punch after the freeze. The first quarter circle forward is going to play out after the freeze and erase the second quarter circle forward that I input. And so instead of a super, I am getting fireball. I am getting fireball. So in this situation where we play out the inputs exactly as they occurred during the freeze, my super input got eaten. So even when we go the other way, it got eaten. Well, if I didn't erase it, when would it play? When would that quarter circle forward actually play? Do we take everything that we've input after the freeze and push it backwards? so that it happens after everything that happened during the freeze, which means you're going to get lag. And if you're a charge character and you're holding down, you're always going to be 3 frames behind until you let go of down and reach a neutral state. You will forever be 3 frames behind playing everything out because you're shoving everything out by 3 frames for the quarter circle forward until you reach a neutral state where you're like, okay, I can catch up now. When would you actually catch up to real time is the question. And the only way to do that is to erase frames, is to erase some of the input frames because you've added 9 frames to a timeline that doesn't exist. So some people have suggested getting rid of the freeze. Dude, drive rushes are unreactable. It's so broken when there's no freeze. Oh my God. They put the freeze in there to make them fair. They put the freeze there to make them fair. Now, here's the question. It's like, what the hell? Why did they do the freezes have been in fighting games forever. Almost every super in every fighting game causes this exact same situation. When you activate a super and ultra combo in 4 and Ryu goes, Mitz, Hadouken, it's all the same thing. It's the exact same freeze. So why haven't we ran into this problem before? Because those freezes are so goddamn long that you're like, I tried to freeze. Oh, shoot. Did it register my super? I don't know. Let me mash. You have like 60 frames, 70 frames, 120 frames, 500 frames to react to the fact that you got interrupted by a freeze. Whereas if you are playing against the drive rush is like 10 frames. So when it happens, it's too late for you to actually react and actually do anything to it. I mean, a lot of older games didn't have freezes for some of their supers. So that's the thing. The way that they've implemented it is exactly the way that a lot of games have implemented handling freezes this whole entire time. In other words, there's no mistake here. There's no mistake except for the jump. Except for the jump, there's no mistake here. Capcom has literally implemented the way to handle freeze the exact same way the majority of fighting games have been handling freeze forever. And all the situations that everybody has given me has not quite succeeded. Somebody even suggested like, okay, instead of registering the inputs, register the moves. So in other words, if I do standing medium kick into quarter circle forward plus medium kick, instead of registering the inputs, register one move and then register another move and then play those moves out without actually putting the inputs into the game. You just play, and it's like now you're just trying to write this engine where the game can recognize it. And does it understand? Is it going to try to play the medium kick and then the other special move? What's the timing that it's going to try to do the special move? Because for moves that are cancelable, is it going to cancel the move? Or is it just going to wait until after the move is done and play it out? And if the move isn't cancelable, does it try to cancel and then negate the special move? Or does it actually just wait till the move is done and then play the other move? Dude, you're writing a whole engine to interpret this. And then what if I messily input a fireball motion and hit punch before I hit to get forward and then hit punch, but because of the ability to carrot cancel normals, it lets me fireball in regular situation, but now when I do that during the freeze, it registers a punch. And then it registers a fireball and treats them as 2 separate moves, and now I'll come out with a strong instead of a fireball when if it didn't freeze, it would have... Dude, there's no good solution to this. The base thing that irks people is simply that drive rush is unfair to the defender. It screws the defender out of options to defeat it when it's actually already hard to react to. Absolutely. That's a whole different discussion, 12 Asians. That's a whole different discussion. But there is plenty of people out there who are still talking about drive rushes eating inputs. And that's all I'm trying to do right now is establish that they really aren't eating inputs, but they are eating inputs, just not the way that you think that they're eating inputs. And so really what it comes down to is I have been racking my brain to try to come up with a proper solution on how to fix this, but I don't know if there is one. Some people were saying, don't actually freeze the thing. Just add 9 frames of startup to the drive rush, and that just makes it easier to react to. You just broke every drive rush juggle combo in the game by adding 9 frames. You just broke every drive rush cancel combo in the game. Zangief's low jab drive rush cancel into low jab is a 1-frame link. By the way, adding 9 frames extra startup to the drive rushes, you broke every combo in the game that involves drive rush. You can't do that. You can't do that. So some people were like, shift the frames then don't do the... Dude, like, I don't know. Like, from a programmer standpoint, there's like no good way to solve this problem as far as I can tell yet. Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, there's screw drive rush combos then, but you're fundamentally changing the game that way, right? So it's not that easy. That's all I'm trying to get cleared out in this video, is that I'm just trying to scientifically explain why we haven't come up with a good solution. A lot of people have been coming up with some very clever things, like don't actually replay the inputs unless you read a button press, like for the quarter circle forward, the double quarter circle forward, so it reads the whole input no matter what. And there have been a lot of suggestions, but every single one of them I can poke a hole into. The real question is, which is the least of all evils? Out of all the solutions, which ones would come up with the least probable situation where something would get eaten? And that's what we're going to go with. What Capcom did here was the default behavior that most games are using for freeze. Most fighting games use the exact same kind of system for freezes, like I said, during super startups, even during V reversals in Street Fighter V, there was a little bit of freeze there as well. Which has eaten some people's inputs before. So a lot of people like that. Yeah, and if you're a charge character and you lose charge during freeze, yeah, that's kind of a bummer as well, too. And that's the thing. That's what I want to establish, because a lot of people are out there like, Capcom sucks. They're not fixing it. They're ignoring the problem. No, I think they're confused, and I think that they don't know what to do as much as everybody else is. So, that's the thing. And if you guys have more suggestions, please absolutely throw them into the YouTube comments, because I have been talking to a lot of people about this in YouTube comments from the previous video as well, trying to come up with ideas on how to fix it. And, you know, as a programmer, yes, as soon as you give me a solution, the first thing I'm going to do is try to break it. That's what programmers do. But like I said, out of all the solutions, which one is the least offensive? Which one will cause the least amount of problems? Which one will actually, hi Nathan, be able to, will be the one that people can put up the most with? If the cases in which it does eat inputs are super rare or less common, or maybe even just, you know, if that happens, it's really not that bad, you know, that's the solution that we want to go with. But right now, I do not think that there is a super elegant solution, because in order for the game to have a super elegant solution, it has to know exactly what your intention was, and it has to know what your goal was, and it has to understand way more about the game than it possibly needs to understand. You would have to write a giant engine to be able to interpret what you wanted to have happen with your inputs, because there are like 7 bazillion different things you can input, and it has to know what you wanted. The way that the game's interpreting inputs right now is literally frame by frame, and that's just how it works. It has no knowledge of what, it doesn't understand anything about cancels or anything. It's just, you hit this button here. What's the state of the game? Can these things be possible? Sure, and then it lets it happen. It is not going, your intention was to cancel this move into this. No, it's just frame by frame going, you know what do these inputs mean to the state of the game? All right, next frame. What do the inputs mean to the state of the game? All right, next frame. I mean, the best example was the unblockables in Super Turbo, which is one of the greatest, bugs that I have ever seen. I love this bug. So basically, moves that hit on the first frame in Super Turbo had a 50% chance of being unblockable. Why? Why did this happen? Because the person who was programming the game was going, well, when we process the state of a character, we need to process the state of one character and then process the state of the next character. But if I always process the first player first and the second player second, isn't that unfair to the second player? So you know what? I'm going to put a random generator in the game that will just randomly pick which of the two characters I process first. So it decides which character to process first by a random generator. And it led to an unblockable situation that is 50-50. And you'll never believe it, but it's the character, if you get processed second, that your unblockable hits. Because if it processes one character first, the one not doing the attack, it goes, what state am I in? I'm standing here and I'm holding backwards on the controller. Is the opponent attacking right now? He's not. Okay, so you don't need to block. Let me process the next character. What are you doing? Oh, you did your move that hits on the very, very first frame. Interesting. Well, that means you can hit right now. What's the opponent doing? He's not doing anything. Hit him. If it was the opposite way, it would be, am I attacking right now? I am attacking. What's the opponent doing right now? I don't know. All right, so you're attacking. And you go to the second character, and the second character goes, what am I doing right now? I'm holding back. Is the enemy attacking? Yes, he is. I'm going to block. So if you get processed second, you actually block the move. If you get processed first, you get hit by an unblockable. And sure enough, Ryu, Ken, and Blanca can all do 50-50 unblockables in Super Turbo. But most of them are not useful except for Ryu and Ken's. Their air tatsu hits on the first frame, and that's why you'll see some Ryus do jump air tatsu meaty over and over and over again, and some guy just keeps getting hit. And you're like, why isn't he blocking? And it's because he got the lucky 50-50 every single time. Blanca's just any of his Blanca balls. All of his Blanca balls hit on the first frame. The reason why it's not useful is because if you block the Blanca ball, you kill Blanca. So it's not worth it for Blanca to risk the 50-50 to do a chunk of damage, where if he's wrong, you kill him. But Ryu's air tatsu is if you block it, he's plus like 29 frames, and he can do all sorts of mean things to you anyway. And if you don't block it, he gets to loop it. That's the problem. Yes, and I think in later games what they do is they read the states before they decide kind of what happens. There's going to be a priority. There's going to be an order to it. And so that way it doesn't happen. But again, all these things are program problems. They're programmatic problems. And this drive rush freeze is one of them. It is absolutely a weird programming problem that you have literal amounts of time that you need to erase. And again, in super freezes, it feels like it would be worse because you've got a giant chunk of time, but the human mind has the ability to go, whoa, he activated the super. Did he ruin my input? Let me input it again. Hell, let me input it again. And so you register it 3 times and now you'll get what you wanted, right? So, or the freeze happens so long, you're like, oh, did that eat my standing medium kick? I'm just going to keep mashing medium kick. And after the freeze ends, your medium kick comes out, and then I do quarter circle forward. So it works on the longer freezes. The problem with Drive Rush is the fact that the freeze is only 9 to 10 frames long. And that's what causes all the problem. Strive RC freeze. Yeah, I think there's a lot of it there too. I haven't experimented with it, but I'm sure it behaves in very, very similar fashions as well. That when the freeze happens, it either ignores the inputs for the enemy, or it actually just chooses the priority. I would have to test it. I would have to test how it works. Some games have it so that literally, yeah, you just can't input anything. Super Turbo is that way. If you play Super Turbo, when the character starts up their super and does the little chi gathering, literally the opponent's inputs don't matter anymore. So that chi gathering is about the same length as the drive rush. And you'll see a lot of top Super Turbo players, when they want to chip someone to death when they're getting up off the floor, they'll time their super so that they do the super right when the guy is about to do a wake-up DP. Because when they do the wake-up DP and you activate your super, now the game for like 9 to 10 frames reads no inputs at all whatsoever. And the player trying to do the wake up is like, did it freeze on my forward or my down forward? I don't know how to finish my motion. And so after the freeze ends, the only way to get a special move is if you finish exactly where you left off from after the super ends. And mashing doesn't work in those old games because it won't register anything during that freeze. So you're screwed. Super Turbo had it so you registered absolutely nothing during the freeze. It was just frozen. This game state doesn't exist. And now all the modern games have it so you can do stuff during the freeze. And so that's a kind of a different kind of situation. So here in Street Fighter 6, I don't know what the solution is. There might be some really crazy, elegant solution that doesn't require you to write your own fighting game interpretation prediction engine. Did you hit the timing it'll take so that it'll cancel this move? Then I'll let you cancel it. You know, like you don't, like that's too much work. Like maybe there's an elegant solution. I haven't thought of one. If you guys can think of one, feel free to try to throw it into the chat. But so far as a programmer, I haven't been able to come up with something that works. But I just wanted to get that cleared up. And I know this is way longer of a video than you probably cared to watch to understand this. But, you know, I wanted to explain it, be thorough about it, have this all on record so that people understand exactly what's happening and why this is a solution that Capcom hasn't fixed yet. Because, again, I personally believe there is no solution right now. And if there is one, they haven't thought of it either. So this is where we're at this point. We need to figure something out. And again, it might just come down to we just accept it how it is. That's just part of the engine. Like I said, in Super Turbo, people would take advantage of it on purpose to mess up other people's inputs. You see Bon-chan do this all the time. Not Bon-chan. There's a Guile player in Japan that would purposely drive rush right before you try to neutral jump a sonic boom to try to eat your jump input. Like literally, that's what some of these players will actually do. They take advantage of it, right? And that's what we've done all our lives for fighting games. Maybe we just live with how it is, understand when it happens, and actually use it as a tactic. Like that's actually a legit tactic that some people, that Guile players are using to mess you up from neutral jumping over fireballs with the right timing. Like that's actually a tactic. So maybe we don't do anything. Maybe we just let it rock how it is. The question really is, what is the least of evils out of all of the options? And that's the one that we want to go through. Or if we can find a solution that actually fixes the majority of the problems, that's what we go for. But the main point I'm trying to establish is one, this is why it's hard to fix. And two, it's hard to fix. There's not an error going on in here. There is no unintended behavior. There is no bug. There is nothing crazy happening here that's broken. It is behaving exactly as all fighting games have been forever practically for screen freezes, for things like super startups, drive reversals, V reversals, ultra startups, etc., etc. It's just that because it's so short, it's rearing its ugly head in a different way, except for the jump input. Capcom, you can fix the jump input problem that up during the freeze registers as up. And then the drive rush method to make you miss the jump over fireballs won't even happen. But that is something that should be fixed now. That is the one bug you can fix right now, Capcom. But outside of that, we are going to have to take, for a while, accept the fact that some inputs will get eaten in very, very, very peculiar situations and live with that for now, unless somebody can come up with a better solution. So that's all I wanted to do here for today. Would it just be fair to the defender to remove the plus frames on DR? If you're just talking about balancing drive rushes, 12 Asians, I already gave my suggestions in the previous video. You can find that on YouTube, but to summarize it, I just want you to be in a punish counter state when you dash, when you drive rush, and if you get hit out of your dash of a drive rush, you stumble forward or you stop in place rather than getting pushed backwards. So that way, if I check your drive rush, I can get big combos off of you just like you can if you drive rush in on me. What we're doing is balancing out the risk and the reward. The reason why I want you to stumble forward or at least stay in place is because if I check you, most of the time you check a drive rush is because you stick a button way out there and you hit them with the tip, and then you either have to commit to canceling into something. But if it's a punish counter and you hit them and they kind of stumble forward a little bit with the same frame data, now I can actually just hit the button, and if I check you, easily link a combo and do some big damage on you in the same way that you can do big damage on me if you get in with the drive rush. That's my suggestion on fixing the drive rush. So, okay, there we go. That's it for this episode here. And so thank you guys for dealing with some tech talk over here. That's what I like to call these videos, science tech talk videos on exactly what's happening with the drive rush. So if you enjoy this kind of video, if you're one of those programming geeks or mechanics geeks game mechanic geeks who love this kind of conversation, let me know and I'll do more of these. But that's basically the situation here. And so for now, I think we have to accept drive rushes as they are, except for the jump, until someone can come up with a better solution. And until then, that's what we're going to have to go with. So in any case, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. And again, if you have any good ideas, type them in the chat. And like I said, I'm going to try to poke holes in them, not because I'm trying to be contrarian or try to be mean, because that's what you have to do as a programmer. Again, 90% of code written on the planet is to handle situations that you hope never happen. Okay, that is the nature of coding, is that you code for all the craziness and try to hope that it never, ever happens. That is the nature of coding. So, like I said, I'll be poking holes into it just because we want to make sure that it's thorough and it works. But outside of that, hope you guys did enjoy this very, very technical video here. Hope you guys are enjoying the content here in general. And I will see you guys next time. And remember, the day that this podcast graced your ears was the most important and potentially confusing day of your life. But for me,
it was Tuesday.